Further thoughts on language policing. Hashtag free speech. Hey, it's Prince of Queens, and I realize that there is a bit of a mirror image kind of a thing. Not mirror image, but similarity that I think might grow into a mirror image going on with the anti-SJW skeptic and free speech crowd that I think I could address in further detail just before it gets worse. I know a lot of people have tried to do it, but here's my take. You see, most anti-SJW type people want people to be able to say whatever they want without getting into trouble, and I agree in principle. But power shifts quickly, and so does quote-unquote political correctness. I don't believe that people should get into legal trouble for using the wrong words, obviously. And I also don't really like the fact that people get fired from their jobs as a result of saying the wrong thing, especially off work. But we have to be realistic. And we also have to think about the fact that the mere term politically correct is very contextual. What is quote-unquote politically correct under one political climate or administration is not necessarily the same under another. Currently, somebody can be faced with a gigantic social media campaign that could result in their losing of their jobs for having the wrong political opinion, or even just a joke that landed poorly, like in the case of Tim Hunt or Justine Sacco. And those are horrible things. But what can really be done about it besides fighting collectively as a culture against these type of crybullies? I don't offer any super great solution besides to really stick it to anybody with a media platform who regularly doxes people's names and employers, such as Kat Black, who does it very frequently, like in this photograph from her Facebook fan page. She shows the guy's face, his name, and where he works. But can we solve this with any sort of law? I am not so sure. Think about it from the employer's perspective. If a guy is videotaped being blatantly racist and it explodes all over social media, is there any real way to stop people from calling his employer and making a fuss? Granted, I think this behavior is unethical personally, because if the guy is just a factory worker or something, it really isn't his employer's business if he is racist outside of work, even though I personally wouldn't expect most employers to knowingly hire open racists. That's just me. Regardless, knowing that what is considered politically correct can change, and also knowing that SJWs do get bullied themselves by the masses on the internet if, say, the right anti-SJW YouTube personality makes a video mocking them, we can assume that eventually this cultural trend will lead to new flocks of people attempting to get people fired from their jobs with social media smear campaigns. But it will be over different issues. I know now is where some asshole will call me an SJW, but can it? And let me tell you a story that a lot of you just aren't old enough to remember. In 2003, during the Bush presidency and not long after the war in Iraq had broken out, due to false intelligence saying that they had weapons of mass destruction and that Saddam Hussein was somehow connected to the 9/11 attack, both things being untrue, the Dixie Chicks were playing a concert in London. During the introduction to the song Traveling Soldier, one of the members of the band said, "Just so you know, we're on the good side with y'all. We do not want this war, this violence, and we're ashamed that the President of the United States is from Texas." As you can read from the Wikipedia entry that I am showing here, this resulted in a massive call to action against the band, who was actually extremely popular at the time prior to this incident. Their record sales went drastically down. I think they were in the top 10, and they basically went no longer on the charts within a few weeks, and they almost lost sponsorship from Lipton when fans threatened to boycott them. All that for 2 sentences uttered at a concert. And this was before the social media age. That all said, these issues of free speech are always going to be a two-way street, and if you believe you're going to be safe to say whatever you want simply because you are against the regressive left, which seems to be losing power, I think you are extremely naive. And if you currently relentlessly call people retards and faggots, or even niggers, I think you aren't any better than a fat black woman who thinks that she should be able to say, "Kill all the white babies" forever, and nobody will care. Sorry, but it's game over for her now, obviously. So if you love calling people retarded nigger faggots, it will be game over for you too eventually. That woman thought 8 years ago probably that now that we have a black president, she will be able to say whatever she wants for the rest of her life. Clearly, she counted her chickens before they hatched. I was once a hardcore leftist who called people out online regularly for using the word faggot. Mostly these people were definitely homophobic, and honestly, I do not regret dragging about 93% of them through the mud publicly. It was fun. They deserved it. Sometimes maybe these people weren't homophobic, and I feel a little bit bad about that. But I figured at the time that the association of using the word was bad enough, and if somebody was using it at all, it would encourage other people to continue to be legitimately homophobic. People would think, hey, all my friends use the word faggot as an insult. That must be because gay people actually suck, right? It's not that complicated. At the time, there were constant online homophobes, and I was one of the only people who stood up to them because every other gay guy I knew was still traumatized from getting their ass kicked too many times in high school. I wasn't, so I stood up to these guys. And trust me, it was definitely very clear that they were homophobic because as soon as I did stand up to them, they threw out every fucking homophobic insult they could and would threaten to kick my ass and all sorts of stuff. And when I would say, what makes you think it's going to be so easy to kick my ass, because I wasn't scared of them, then they would really flip the fuck out. And they were like, I'm going to beat your ass so hard, I'm going to fucking kill you. It's kind of like Black Lives Matter people now, where if you stand up to them, they're fucking trying to threaten you and dox you and shit. They don't understand that some white people aren't scared of them. They think they're like, oh, a white guy stood up to me and I'm a Black Lives Matter protester. We're going to come to his house and kill him. It's like, yeah, what if he has guns, idiot? It's the thing is, when you're doing this and you're standing up to people, you're speaking truth to power or whatever, it's threatening them because they think that they have the power. When I was standing up against homophobes, it was the same way as what we do as anti-SJWs when we currently stand up to fourth wave intersectional feminist social justice warriors who say awful things. Each time the awful group only is so awful because they believed that they were in the majority and that they were winning. Each group forgot that power shifts quickly. Currently, we are going through a change, and we don't know what that will really look like. A lot of gay guys over 30 or so are convinced that we're going to enter into a new homophobic dark age, but I'm not entirely convinced that that is true. I don't see all that much hatred for gay men coming from the right, truthfully, though I do see a lot of hatred towards black people as a backlash against Black Lives Matter, and that really disappoints me. Sure, a ton of black people turned into selfish, racist, lunatic assholes while they were race-baited by the media. But technically, it was even more white people who followed this movement, and there are plenty of black people who know Black Lives Matter has just damaged their communities, ultimately. So, don't be racist against black people because of it. This video will not be one of my best because I do not have a clear pathway to what I really want to happen. The main thing that I think people should keep in mind is that if you ever use the fact that you think you can get away with being an asshole as an excuse to be an asshole, I think you're a weak person. You're no better than Black Lives Matter supporters who call for the death of white people and cops if you start saying stupid shit on the internet simply because Trump got elected. And while I can't say I've seen a ton of it yet, I have definitely seen it. It's not that it hurts me. I'm not triggered, and if you want to start with me in the comments, I will drag you easily. Mess with the best, die like the rest. I've been doing this for 20 years. All I can do is offer you some suggestions. You can call people niggers, and I can't stop you, but I advise you not to. It's stupid, and it not only discredits you as an individual and makes people not want to listen to you, but it also legitimizes the feelings of SJWs inside their little heads that we live in a white supremacist nation, and makes them think they were right the entire time about everything else. It's a lot more effective to just not be racist, showing them that they're the real racists for assuming Trump's America will be spelled with 3 Ks. America. You can call people faggots. I can't stop you, but faggots are technically bundles of sticks, and that's what they used to burn gay men in the Dark Ages or whatever. So don't pretend that you can spin it into something that isn't related to something rather gross. So unless you are calling people a faggot as a term of endearment, you have to remember that a lot of people will always assume you're a homophobe if you say it. So if you continue to say it and you know damned well people will think that, well, that's on you. I personally wouldn't walk around with a shirt that said homophobe on it if I were a straight guy, but maybe you would. It's your choice. But don't expect to be seen in public with me if you wear a shirt that says homophobic, because you'll scare all my dates away. Finally, you can call people retards. And this one is the diciest of all because there's no way anybody will ever convince everybody to stop calling people retarded as an insult. It's just not going to happen. However, I know some people who have a kid with Down syndrome, and they're very nice people, and the daughter is quite sweet, honestly. So if we ever hung out in person and you were using retarded as a negative around that family and I was with you, you can expect me not to call you again to hang out. But sure, in a shitlord live stream, I absolutely expect retard jokes. They can be pretty funny. In closing, we shouldn't try to control others in these ways, trying to language police them. But that doesn't mean that we aren't slightly better people if we control ourselves. Sorry to be a buzzkill. You can leave whatever shitlordery in my comments, and stay tuned.